Hello, Dixie Belle paint fans. How are you today? It is Melissa from the Top Drawer RVA. I'm back because it's Wednesday, and every Wednesday at 3 p.m. we get together, sit on the floor, and play with paint. And I always have a new project, and I'm always excited to see you, so welcome. Thanks for joining me today. So today's project is new, and I'm kind of excited because, I'm not gonna lie, painting color and wild and whimsical pieces is my jam. This is where I shine. This is where I get to have some fun. And I have this strange cabinet, and I've had it for a really long time. And I have two. I have two exactly the same. Don't ask me. It's like a purchase. I buy weird things and I just put them in the shed and then I forget. So I brought this piece out specifically to play with decoupage paper. Now, here's the deal. You're going to hear me say decoupage. You're going to hear me say decoupage. And both ways are right because I am Canadian and we say things differently than everybody else. So trust me, it's a thing. I can say decoupage, I can say decoupage. You guys all know what I'm talking about. But that's what we're going to do today. We are going to do decoupage. So I have one of the papers, which I've already started to cut up from the Dixie Belle Bells and Whistles line. And I'm going to hold up the label so that you can see it nice and close and you can see what we're working on today. This is one of the new papers that were released a couple weeks ago called Sunflower Sunset. Ooh, look at those shaky hands. Too much coffee for me today. See that? Can you see that cutie little picture right up there at the top? That's what we're going to put on this tiny cabinet. Is it weird? Yes. Is it wild? Yes. But it's colorful and it's going to be fabulous. So let's look at what I have here on the floor because I kind of have like some craziness going on. So this cabinet, these drawers don't come out. They're like trigger locked into the like metallic glide that's on the bottom, okay? So they don't come out. So I'm leaving them in. The bottom one does come out because it's broken, but it stays in and it works really well. It's just that there's a small little lip on the top of this drawer that doesn't close flush with the cabinet, which is why I already cut my paper because y'all know I like to chat, right? We like to talk over here on the Dixie Belle paint page, but I can't talk and cut things precisely with measurements at the same time. It's virtually impossible for me to do. My brain cannot create and do math at the same time. It's a thing, people. It's a thing. Look it up. So I cut one piece to fit this bottom drawer exactly because it's a weird and wild drawer that sits out a little bit funny, and I want to make it look the best that it can be. So this is the top part of the paper right here, okay? So this paper is very colorful. It looks like kind of like Lisa Frank inspired, if you ask me. It's super pretty, super, super pretty. And it has a beautiful sky, and it has these gorgeous sunflowers. So I cut one piece here at the bottom that is going to go down here. I got to figure out which way it goes, which way it is go. It goes this way. So I can do this drawer on its own before I add like this big tall paper, okay? Because if I didn't, then I'm gonna have to bend it around that weird and wild broken drawer, and I don't wanna do that. So I cut the piece, and we're gonna put this on the front of this cabinet today. I already painted the top. Do you wanna see? So you can see the top of this paper, right? Has this beautiful pink and purple and gorgeous sky. I mean, stunning, stunning. So let's lift you up, take in a little ride, shall we? I already painted the top of the cabinet, and you can see it right there. The top of the cabinet has been painted in a multitude of colors, looking just like the sky, if you ask me, that's on the top of the decoupage paper, right? So that's the plan. Let's stick this paper on the front of this cabinet. Then, after I stick the paper on the front of the cabinet, I was thinking what I should do, because if you look straight at this weird cabinet, it's got this like curvy front, right? And it curves, so you can still see, if you're looking at the front, you can still see these side back pieces. So I am going to do the extra pieces, because I cut the paper already in 3 pieces, right? This piece, and this piece. I'm thinking I should do the paper here, and then I'm gonna paint the rest in. I'm gonna do a whole ton of hand painting. It's not all gonna happen today here on the Dixie Belle paint page, but if you come over and follow me at the Top Drawer RVA, I linked my little page right above. You can follow along on my journey. Then I'm gonna get out the new Dixie Shine, which is a brand new gold leafing system that they have that is not messy. I mean, you know, I like a mess because look around me, but it is a really cool product where you apply the glue, stick on the shine, and the shine only stays where the sticky part is. So I think I'm gonna sticky shine the leaves I'm gonna paint the rest of the cabinet in. This whole cabinet is gonna be like a giant Lisa Frank colored rainbow with gold and chameleon wax and accents, and I'm gonna freaking love it. It's gonna be fabulous. Is it gonna be weird and wild? Yes, but is it gonna be fabulous? For sure. So let's do this, all right? Still getting over my cold from last week, as you can tell. Almost 100%. I've given it to my husband and I've given it to my child. But you know, if they would stop getting all over me and in my business all the time, we wouldn't have a problem. But you know, these kids, they won't leave you alone. So I now look at what I just did. I just looked to measure to make sure that I didn't have it like upside down, and then I totally forgot what I was doing. Okay, that's the way it goes. I'm gonna lay it down this way. Now I know. We know. Let's get started. All right. If you have any questions while I'm working and I miss them because I do a lot of talking and not a lot of reading of comments, please drop them in below. I will come back in after I'm finished and answer any questions as we go along. And if you need the name of the paper before we begin, one more time, Sunflower Sunset, brand new paper from Dixie Belle. It is available at your local retailer. Check them out. They will have it, and if they don't, they can get it for you. All right, so let's start. So this is premium rice paper. What is rice paper, you ask? Well, rice paper has these little fibers on the back. It's kind of like a stronger paper, right? It's not tissue, it's not cloth, it's like kind of like right in the middle. This paper has beautiful flowers on it. My goal for today is to get this entire piece on. I'm going to go from this top piece to the bottom piece down here where the lip of this little cabinet comes around. I think I will be painting like greens down there, trying to paint the paper in, but I'm going to shine that whole part up. So really whatever color ends up on the very, very bottom of the base, it's probably going to be disguised by some gold shine. All right, let's get this paper on here. When I do decoupage, aka decoupage, whatever you want to call it, I just use satin clear coat. It's what I've always used. Is it the right way? I don't know. Works for me. So we're going to do it that way. All right. On the floor, I have a can, satin clear coat. It's a well-loved can. I actually saved this one just for my decoupage because it's junky and the lid doesn't close. And that's usually the way we roll around here. I'm not a very good lid closer. So it is specifically for my paper. I'm going to use a chip brush. Doesn't matter what kind of brush you use. Doesn't matter what kind of brush I use. Some people prefer a smoother brush. I'm going to come in and I'm going to saturate this entire drawer with the clear coat. I'm going to go heavy, y'all. I'm going to be thick. You know I'm very messy, right? Like this is how I live my life in my workshop. The rest of my house is clean, I promise. But this room is chaos. I work better in a controlled chaos. So I'm going to be messy and put this all over. I'm going to line up my paper to the edge at the bottom and I'm going to smooth it out from the middle. All right? Let's get cracking. So how are you today? How's everybody doing? You hanging in? Spring has sprung. It is now officially spring, and that makes me happy. I'm excited to get planters going and some warm weather. Spring break is coming, some Easter. It's all good stuff. Easter means chocolate, and that makes me happy too. All right, so what's on this cabinet? I forgot to tell you. That would help, wouldn't it? This is putty, I think, right? Putty? Let me look. Let me be 100% and tell you the truth before I run away. It is putty. I was right. It's putty. So I just took one even coat of putty on here. Why, you ask? Why, Melissa, did you do a coat of putty on top of something? Because it's a nice neutral base color. Wherever this paper is not going to be, I am going to be blending a whole giant mix of colors, right? We're going to create basically what's on this paper all over this whole entire piece. So this gives me a nice sturdy neutral base for blending on top. I always recommend a nice solid base coat. All right, I double checked that this is the right way up. I'm going to come down and I'm going to line it up. Here's the thing about rice paper, y'all. You can make a mistake and pick it off. Look, pick it off, no worries. You can move it around. It's not hard to use rice paper. You're going to find that rice paper is like easy to use. I'm just going to line up from the bottom because the bottom is kind of where the drawer needs to cover, this whole drawer, right? Now, y'all, I did this without thinking how I'm going to find the hole. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so I'm going to put this on. I'm going to smooth out that one wrinkle where the paper kind of folds. I'm just going to use my hand to smooth it out. It's there. I'm going to use the same brush. And I'm just going to take some more of that clear coat. And I'm really just going to mash it in. I'm just going to fold it there underneath the bottom When this is done, like when it's dry, I'm going to be able to gently sand off the edges if I want to, but we're gonna take these edges around the door. I just wanna make sure I get all of my lumps and bumps out of this. And now I need to find there it is. I need to find the hole because this drawer, I need to open it. So there's my hole where my hardware is gonna be. Ta-da! Look at that magic. I actually did that. That's impressive. I kind of forgot when the paper went on. I was like, how am I going to open the drawer? Okay, because remember, this drawer is wonky. This drawer doesn't want to close 100% of the way. So to fix the wonkiness, we're going to decoupage all of these little corners. All I'm doing is using my finger to gently push down the paper. Normally, I would sand this paper off, right? But I need to cover and hide the fact that this drawer doesn't close 100%. You can't really tell. Like it's like less than half of a centimeter that it doesn't really close. So once this paper's on, that problem is going to disappear and it's no longer going to be a problem. So I'm just smoothing on this paper with my finger. You can then gently either cut, I have scissors on the floor, cut a crease. Because remember, we're going to bend this kind of around this corner. I need it to be like a bed. You know, when you make a bed sheet around the bottom of your bed, you kind of have to tuck those corners. So I'm just going to tuck that corner in so it sits flat. I actually learned when I was in nursing college how to properly make a bed. Does it help me make my bed right now? No, I don't make my bed. Sorry, Nana. I know Nana's watching going, curses, you never make your bed. I'm not a good bed maker. But I did learn when I was a nurse in college actually how to fold the proper corners and make a bed. It's a thing, y'all. It's a thing. Did you know I was a nurse back in the olden days? Before I was a furniture painter that sits on the floor and hangs out with y'all? True facts, people, true facts. All right, so I'm going to continue to just gently push my paper, make sure there's no bubbles. Use your fingers if you want. You can use a tool called a brayer. A brayer is a tool that has like a roller skate wheel on it that you can use to bend over the edges and smooth out any wrinkles, but I'm kind of like a hands-on person, so I'm just going to continue to use my fingers and push this over. If this is too thick at the end of the day and I don't like that edge, once this satin clear coat dries, I'm very easily able to sand it and smooth it. But I need this drawer only. This drawer only needs to be like good around the seams because of the fact that it doesn't close well. All the rest of them, we're going to put this whole paper across the other two, and then once it's dry, we're going to cut it. But for this part of the process, I had to very gently work those edges around. I'm just pushing my bubbles out. Again, fingers. I know you're not supposed to shove your fingers all over everything, especially when it's wet, but yeah, I do it. Let's see. Hey, AJ. Hi, Amy. Amy, listen, AJ's on here watching. If you all have decoupage, aka decoupage questions, she has a ton of great tutorials. She's my go-to for like, if I have questions about any kind of decoupage, I look at her videos because she knows how to do it proper, like with an iron and anything. I don't even use an iron in my real life to iron clothes. If it requires ironing, I'm not going to buy it. So go check out Amy from AJ's Vintage Designs, and she will set you on the path to proper decoupage. But I know a lot of you are like me out there where you just fly by the seat of your pants, and this is kind of the way that sometimes people have to figure things out. And hey, if you all like my kind of crazy, that's why you're watching, right? We're hanging out together. Okay, so one drawer done. Remember, the only reason I did the drawer this way, and I didn't wear my apron today, which means I'm going to wipe this all over myself. The only reason I did it this way is because remember, this drawer doesn't close well. So now when this drawer is closed, you can see how it's going to be decoupaged in. You're not going to see the fact that it doesn't close. So let's do the rest of the process. Where did I put the paper? I mean, I know I put it behind me so I wouldn't wreck it, and I lost it. All right, here's the rest of the image. Now the rest of the image is going to go directly from this edge all the way up. So I'm going to leave these drawers in, okay? Drawers stay in, paper goes on top. Once this paper is dry, because I'm using a satin clear coat, once it's dry, I'm just going to take a sharp knife and cut my paper. When it's cut and it's dry, I will then be able to open the drawers and gently sand around the edges, or just push that paper down to kind of go around the edges. But this bottom drawer was going to be my fussy. It's going to be my my issue today. So now that that's on, we're ready to do the rest. Are you still with me? Hooray! Hey, I see Teresa watching. That's another content creator here at Dixie Belle. You can go follow her at NTS Design Co. Let's do the other two drawers. Right over top of the dry putty, I've got my clear coat. I remember going to go liberally. I like to put a lot of clear coat on, because if I make a boo-boo, which it happens, people, this is just paint. Don't worry if you make a boo-boo. You can easily move your paper around. This paper is rice paper, and it is easily manipulated and handled. This is great paper for when you are learning how to do decoupage, or you're like me and you're just not it's not 100% my skill set. I can do it, it's just not something that I'm fabulous at. So it helps me in that way. Now, there's two ways to do this. I could just stick it on and hope for the best. I could line it up to the top, but remember, when this drawer closes, I need to line up this edge right here at the bottom with the rest of the project. Let's see if I can push this big dresser out of the way and bring you right in front so that y'all can see how this is going. So my objective is going to be to line it up to the very bottom crack. So I'm going to start from the bottom rather than starting from the top. Once again, this is just me. This is just my way of doing things. I'm sure there's a better, more proper way to do it. And like I said, go watch AJ. She'll teach you the right way. This is my way. This is the way we roll around here. All right, so now let's just double check. When the drawer goes in, that is pretty good for me. I am happy with that. So I'm going to take the rest of my clear coat and I'm just going to start to push it on and get it onto my project. I know that there's a tiny little edge of paper down here that's going to need to be sanded off. I'm going to do that part when this is dry, okay? So I'm just taking my clear coat. I kind of like to work from the middle out and then push that paper out. Remember, I'm going to be painting the entire scene, like this whole thing that you see on this paper is going to be painted on my piece. I'm going to be hand painting the flowers on the side. I'm going to be hand painting that sky. I've already started it actually on the top, so I can get this beautiful image, this beautiful colorful image across the whole entire thing. If you feel like you need to pick it up and move it around a little bit, you can totally do that. Remember, this is rice paper. Rice paper gives you the ability to really manipulate it, manhandle it, get in there. Have you tried this paper yet? This is still from the last new release. This is a brand new one. I've never used it before, but I do like this color. I do like the color on the piece. So I'm really pumped to paint it in. I'm feeling like more excited about painting it in than I am about getting the paper on. Because I like to paint color. I like an ombre blend. Okay, so now what? Well, I'm looking at it. Do I see any big air bubbles? I do not. I can see where this little edge is going to be, where this cut, when I actually have the paper dry, I can see where the cut is. Can I see a couple little wrinkles down here? Sure. Do they bother me? No, don't bother me. I'm just pushing out all of these little air bubbles with my brush. That's why I like to start from the center and kind of push my way out, because it really helps you. It's kind of like when you put a screensaver on your phone, right? And you put that screensaver on, you like mash the bubbles out from the screensaver. Look how pretty this paper is. So the edges are not 100% right now, right? Because I don't want to touch them when they're wet. I don't want to rip the paper. I want a nice, clean, strong cut. So that means wait, which patience is a virtue I don't do well with. I don't have a lot of patience. I like things to be fast, but I will wait for this to get dry. Once this is dry, right? It should be probably about an hour, I'd say. It's pretty fast, clear coat. And I also have a fan on the floor. I like to like jam my fan on everything and then it dries faster. So what will happen is once it's dry, I'm going to be able to come in here and gently with my knife follow the edge of this cut on either side of the drawers. What's that going to do? It's going to release the paper, allow me to then either sand the edges or fold it over, right? Because I can kind of like fold it around the bottom edge if I want. It's up to you. Either way works. You just don't want to catch your drawer on any of that extra paper. I know that there are other methods, like I said, for putting paper on. Some people like to use an iron. Some people like to use a brayer. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but this is the Melissa way. Now I'm sticky and I don't have an apron on. Okay, so let's push this back and talk about what we're going to do for the sides. So now when you see, let's take you on like a side angle. Let's see if I can move you over a little bit. So you can see those kind of drawer sections. Can you see how it curves, right? It curves out. This is a curvy little cabinet. My thoughts were to use the extra paper because I cut off this much from either side. That's a lot of paper. I don't want to waste it, right? Like I want to keep it fresh. So you could take either way. Like I could take that paper. I don't really want to put it here because I've got all of this detail here and I'm going to be doing that gold. And remember, I'm going to be painting this whole image across the entire piece, right? I'm going to be kind of like abstract painting like the top because remember I already started the top with the clouds. Pretty close match, right? Pretty close, pretty close. So my thought was take this extra paper and do it on the back parts of the cabinet. Does that make sense? So that when you look at it straight on, that's the part you're going to see is the decoupage part, and then I'll hand paint in the rest. So that's okay if it's not like 100% perfect because it's going to be on the sides, right? Thoughts? I know you all have an opinion. Everybody has an opinion, especially on Facebook. You all have opinions. Tell me what you think I should do. Because I could technically put it on the side. Like when you look down here, there is sides to the piece. So I could carry the paper over here, but you're really not going to see this unless you're standing sideways. But see how you can see the back edge? I've already cut them the width of the shelves. So my thought was, put them here, paint this all in. It's going to be so much fun painting those cutie little flowers. Of course, do all my shine up here. But I think this is a good idea. Let's see. There is no drawers on the side, John. This is just open shelves. Isn't it a weird cabinet? Look, I have the feet on the floor. I took the feet off. There's feet, which I started painting. I'm going to finish painting them. But I'm thinking I will just do the feet pure gold. Look at these fun, chunky feet, right? So fun. Let's see. You like it the way I'm showing it? And now AJ says that, so I am taking her advice because she knows her stuff when it comes to decoupage. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is cut this paper rather than have to measure it for the other side. I know these shelves are the same on both sides, right? Look how much difference there is from one side of the paper to like the other. So technically this is this side. Looks so cute, right? Look at that beautiful, vibrant color. Isn't that pretty? I am a big fan of painting skies. So this is the sky. So I'm going to cut my paper the same as this, knowing that I've already done my measurements. So once I cut the paper, I can then just put them on easier, right? Again, it's kind of in the corner of the shelves. Does it matter? Probably no, but it's going to look the best. Let's do this. Cut paper here. And then one more down here. There we go. Okay. So technically, let's switch it. Technically, this paper's supposed to be on this side, and that one's supposed to be on the other. I really don't think it's going to matter, to be honest, because it's so far away, right? So this, what the heck? Oh no, that goes on that side, right? Because there's the white, so the paper will be over there. Listen, this is going to get confusing over here. That goes on the side. That goes there. This goes here. Let's move it over. For the love anyways, we don't need to worry because this is not exactly, like I said, you're not going to like look at it and go, oh, that's exactly the same as the other piece. You're not going to tell. You're not going to tell. This and this and this. Okay, back in business. Back in business. Should we put this paper on then? Let's put the paper on the back while you're here with me, and then from there, maybe we'll even start painting some stuff in, because I don't want to paint around this, obviously not dry yet, but I can paint around this part probably, right? Or at least over here, just like kind of like a color mash to see how it goes. Let's do it. Okay, which way can you all see the best? This might be the best. Let's put it on. Okay, so we have this bend in my wall, but remember, I'm painting a scene in. Does it matter if it's exactly perfect? No, it doesn't matter. I could also keep these edges and like bend them around the corner, right? Because there's kind of like a little lip here. So let's just, will it wrinkle too much if I go that way? See how there's like a raised section? Like these little shelves are kind of inset. Isn't this a weird cabinet? What would you call this? It's a buffet, right? Like, I mean, technically, I think it's a buffet. Okay, so here's my handy dandy trick. When in doubt on cutting a piece of paper and you don't know where to cut, because you're looking at this going, how am I going to measure exactly where this little bend is? Just score it with your finger. If you score it with your fingernail, what you're able to do is then cut exactly where you scored it. So then you're not getting any weird angles. Look, like magical fit. Then I can actually just take this paper and just wrap it around this whole piece, because I did paint the back in this putty color because I like to paint the back of my projects, but I can just sand this edge off. So when I paint it in, that will disappear. Let's do it. Again, with the clear coat, I'm going to overly saturate this little area with my Dixie Belle's clear coat in satin. It's up to you what what consistency you want to use. There's satin, there's flat, there is gloss. I don't think gloss would be a good idea. You could even use gator hide. I know a lot of people like gator hide for decoupage, but I am a satin kind of a gal. Okay, so now you can gently line up your paper. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's perfect because I'm going to paint it in, right? I'm going to be painting it in. I'm actually going to paint this entire scene across all of the parts. I just want to make sure I don't have a lot of wrinkles. And this is actually a really good guide too for when I do come in here and do my painting. What will happen is this paper will guide me to add the right colors. And I'll paint right over top the edges too of this paper. So now it's right there. It's already on. Lickety split quick. I will leave that edge because I'm going to sand it off when it is dry. So now, if you look from the front, you still see the scene and continue the scene around the corner to the back. Let's do the second one. We're going to score it first, right? Because it has that strange little lip that we talked about right down here. This strange little curve. I might be able to pull this one up tall enough where I miss that curve entirely. I think I can. It's almost like a bump. I'm going to put it up a little high. And what's going to happen is if I put it up a little high, it will leave me a little bit more room to play with on the bottom, if that makes sense. So I can fold it easier around that weird lump. So everywhere where you see a flower, I'm going to be painting a flower. Everywhere where you see the sky change, I'm going to be painting that sky change. It's going to be a masterpiece. It's going to look like a giant rainbow. It's going to take a very brave person to put this in their house, but here's the deal. Every time I think I've gone too far and painted either too much color or too much grunge or too much wild of a design of a piece, those are the pieces that sell the fastest for me. Who would have thought? I sell my pieces here locally at a place called the Lazy Daisy in Short Pump. The Lazy Daisy is a store that has a lot of booths in it. So that's in the Richmond, Virginia area. And I sell the heck out of my weird and wacky pieces. There is a buyer for everything. Just keep the faith and paint what you love. You will have happiness because you're painting everything you like. and hopefully money when it sells. That would be the best. So I'm just gonna push this paper over top of the edge, smooth it out. Let's bring it around here. So there we go. 3 pieces on. I'm even gonna add this little extra piece that I have right here to the bottom because, like I said, I'm gonna paint it in. So this is just gonna be more spots for me to blend up my paint, right? And the good thing about this picture itself is that it is a kind of an abstract color, like it's an abstract looking piece. So because it's an abstract looking piece, nobody's gonna notice if my painting isn't perfect. I'm more of a school of like paint like you like. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing is perfect, especially in nature. Okay, I'm double checking to make sure I got all my wrinkles out, all my big air bubbles out. I'm using my fingers just to mash down my clear coat. Now, let's see if you can see from the front now. See how you can kind of peek around? It's hard to tell on this camera. I think it's because you're up higher. If you were facing straight onto this piece, you would see that carry on from the front. So I think that's perfect. Should we do the other side? Do we have enough time? Let's do it. Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna take this little cabinet. She's on wheels. Or would you rather paint in? Do you want to paint in or do you want to add the decoupage? Let's paint in. That's going to be more fun than decoupage, isn't it? Let's paint in. Let's make some magic happen. Okay. All right. Moving this out of the way. On the floor, I have 11 billion paintbrushes. Don't be afraid. This is 1/4. I have a whole bunch of brushes on the floor, all clean and ready to go. I'm a little sticky, but let's get this happening. So I'm gonna look at my inspo, right? Obviously my paper is my inspo. Okay, I have on the floor a paper plate because we're gonna make a big mash of colors. This is gonna be hard to tell you as I go, but I think we can do it. First of all, the green that I picked to match the bottom part is palmetto, obviously. I have some chocolate that I'm gonna have to squish out on my paper plate. I'm going to be doing a lot of touching the colors, stippling the colors, just to really get this abstract look, right? Like, let me take a piece of this and show you close up. Can you see how abstract this beautiful picture is? Right? This is easy to paint, trust me. Everybody is an artist. You can totally do this. So let's talk about stippling it in. I see brown, I see green, obviously yellow, but that's going to come after the green part goes on. So let's open a little bit of the yellow to mix in with the green. Oh, goodness. Bash your cans on the floor so you can open them up. Kernel mustard. Oh, this is a chunky kernel mustard. I really got to get better about putting lids on my things. I mean, it's becoming a hazard at this point. I should just take the lids off entirely and put them all in those little tubes. It would be less messy for sure. All right, I even want to add a little bit of blue. All right, so let's add some peacock because it's not peacock really, but I don't want that green to be completely 100% green. Okay, so we're gonna start down here. Let's aim the camera down. You like this furniture piece? It's a weirdo. I told you at the beginning of the video, I literally have 2 of them. And somebody's like, paint them to match. Somebody will buy them as a set. I'm like, first of all, sets, thumbs down, no. And I'm not that boring. We're gonna get weird and wild and paint this entire thing in pretty much rainbows and daisies. So let's look at this area. This is still wet, but that's okay. We'll work with it. I'm gonna jump in with a couple of the smaller brushes. I have French tip on the floor. I have a couple of like round medium and round smalls. I have some artisan brushes as well. And we're just gonna get messy. So let's jump right in with the palmetto, okay? I'm just gonna start to stipple the palmetto on. We're gonna build up enough of this kind of layer to where, remember, this is all going to be gold. Don't worry about this. This is all gold. We're going to put the Dixie Belle shine on that part. So I just really want to get that green down here in the bottom. And I don't just want plain green because that's not the way that the picture works. I see green mixed in with brown. And we're going to kind of mix these 2 colors. You know what I don't have on the floor and I should have brought over? Was my caviar. I kind of need black. I always need black. We can add it in later. So So let's just work on this, because remember exactly where this starts is where my shine is going to be. And my shine is the brand new Dixie Belle paint product that goes on like gold leaf, but with zero mess. If you haven't tried that yet, don't worry, I'll be doing that also. And FYI, I'm going to make a video out of this entire thing along with this live. We're going to combine it together, and I'm going to make a massive YouTube, because that's the way to do it. When you guys have a lot of questions, it's just going to help me explain everything. I'm going to touch a little bit of the blue in here and there. Not a lot, just a baby touch. I'm just creating a base for green. I'm also going to be heavily waxing these corners. Like, so everywhere where you have an edge is going to be heavily dark waxed, and it will make my job for blending a little bit easier. I'm going to go over the edges of the paper, a touch with my color. That's a great way to disguise what you're doing. By touching the edges and bringing your color in, you're disguising and painting in your paper. I really need black. Where do I see it where I'm sitting? I have to get it. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna go get it. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I need the black. Okay. We got more stuff. We got more stuff. We're gonna put all of the things on this. Real life, people, real life. All right, here we are. We're back. We're back. Okay, so now I grabbed my caviar, which I should have had on the floor anyways, which is just black. And I also grabbed some collard greens and some gravel road. I think in order to make the best of your paper blends, right, to make sure that your paper is going to look authentic, like painted in, your best bet is to mix a bunch of colors together. Make sure you've got a little bit of everything. This collard greens is going to give me a little bit more depth. Good, I put my mic back on. Because this is where we're going to be painting flowers in. I can also come down and bring some more flowers, but for now I'm just going to add a little bit of that black, and I'm just painting those edges in. I mean, technically, should I be waiting for this to be dry? Yes. Am I going to wait? No. Because this is the way that I would normally do it. Not waiting. Not waiting. Washing brushes. Amy, oh gosh, you know I'll be washing brushes. I tend to use a lot of the same brush for the same tone. So here I am using like the darks, the greens, the blacks. Most likely one brush will suffice for all of that. But yes, I like to gather a big bucket of brushes and eventually have to wash them because I've run out. So here's another trick. You don't see me painting on smooth like this, right? I'm not painting like this. I'm stippling. By doing a stippling action, I'm able to kind of create a bit of a texture, right? And by creating that texture, you're giving yourself a little bit of a disguise. You're adding texture. I can't see underneath this teeny tiny little counter. It's like a little shelf. Whew, that was hard to get my little head under there. So now I've just kind of taken this green and brought it around. I think what I'll end up doing is actually putting some more hand painting in with smaller artisan brushes. So mixing some colors to get exactly the little bit of green that's on that paper. See how it's lighter? I'm never going to sit here and figure out exactly what color that is, but I can mix a little bit of white, a little bit of palmetto, and get a little bit of a lighter value and start to take those leaves and bring them down. Like finding that actual color. I'm really a big fan of kind of color mixing. So just adding that little bit of leaves. You can also come up here and add some of it as well in the corners. And then what's going to happen is it's all just going to come cohesively together, if that makes sense. I need almost like a yellow. I need to add some yellow to that green. That's better. So I think what I'll do is paint in a couple daisies down here. Are these sunflowers? They're sunflowers, not daisies. And then what'll happen is that will even blend it further. So maybe one flower over here, maybe scatter a tiny one over here. but just by touching these colors in, let's see if I can bring you in a little bit closer so you can see. See how now you can't really tell where that paper ended and where your hand painting begins. Is this going to take me a really long time? This is going to take me a really long time. Is that okay? Sure, because this is what I like. I like the fussy, finicky hand painting any day. Any day. So let's look at this spot right here. Can you see? Come behind me a little bit more. See how there is a naked spot right here? I'm going to mix together some of this yellow and some of this green. I'm just going to gently fake it in. Fake it. Fake it till you make it. I'm just faking this color in. You bring the color down. Now that's disappeared, right? Like, can you really even see that spot? You can't even see it. Super cute, right? Super cute. So don't be afraid of painting in your decoupage. Like, let's work on this little section. I know you can see this fairly well. I'm going to keep this small artisan brush for now. I've mixed collard greens. I've mixed some of the yellow in, the kernel mustard. I mean, this isn't even dry. I technically shouldn't be even doing this yet, but that's okay. I'm just going to stick that little paper down right there. So I'm just painting in. I can't work on the flowers until the green is dry, right? Like, it's not going to be dry for a bit. So let's just paint in some of this green. I can see up here some beautiful, I don't have any water on the floor. Can I be more unprepared for a live today? I don't think so. I see some beautiful pink up here. So I've got like my flamingo, and I've got pink, peony. I'm going to be painting the sky directly across here. I've got yellow kernel mustard, and I grabbed some terracotta. We're going to be painting that over here. But I just want you to play. Like, there's nothing wrong with getting out all your paints in a paper plate like this and just mixing it together. Just play. Just have some fun and figure it out as you go along. I mean, you don't know until you try, right? You never know what's going to happen. Again, just mixing up this green and this brown. Kernel mustard. And you know, you can also come in here with your waxes and say add highlights with gold gilding wax, so that your eye is going to be distracted a little bit by all of the things going on. Nobody's going to come up and look at it like you look at it. You are your own worst critic. You are going to come up to it and look at it and be like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I can't believe I did that. I'm stressing out. And you might worry, or you might like over-critical on your design or your paint process. Trust me, nobody else but you is looking at it that close. You are your own worst critic, and that goes for everything in life, FYI. You are always going to be your own worst critic. Nobody, except for your own ego, is going to be as hard on you as you are. So have fun. Play with your paint. I give you permission to get in here and experiment. Have a good time with what you're doing, because why do it if you're not having fun? And match your paint in with your paper. You will be amazed at what you can create. I promise. This is fun stuff. I think this is something everybody should do if you get the opportunity. So let's do a quick recap. Sunflower Sunset decoupage paper. You can find this at your local Dixie Belle retailer. It's one of the newer ones. I've cut it up into 3 sections, right? I've got the front, which we put on together, this back area, which we did together. Now I can't even turn the table. There's no room. I've boxed myself in. So we've got it in the back area over here. We've got the beautiful front with the full sunflowers. I've got the top already started to be painted in a bright purple sky. I'm going to get out the new Shine On Me, and we're going to do that Dixie Belle shine on the leaves on the front. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just fun, and that's what painting should be.